Right now on Morning News Now, chaos on campus developing overnight. Days of tension coming to a head at two colleges on opposite coasts. In New York, police in riot gear clearing out a building at Columbia University occupied by pro-Palestine protesters.
The quad is now empty. The only thing that's left is the tents and their property.
Now dozens of protesters under arrest and facing expulsion. And in Los Angeles, police called to the UCLA campus where rival protests turned violent overnight. We'll bring you the latest. Also this morning, fallout in Florida over a controversial abortion ban in effect as of midnight. Why the new policy is raising concern far beyond state lines. Plus, up in smoke, federal officials rethinking rules to ease up on marijuana. More on the new plans to reclassify the drug. And the nominees are, that's right, nominations are out for this year's Tony Awards. We're pulling back the curtain on the productions that got the most nods, including several familiar faces that have been right here through Joe's esteemed interview on Morning News Now.
We've only had curtain call for a little bit. Already 5 of our guests received Tony nominations yesterday.
I think that's the word for it.
There you go. That's what we're going for here. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks so much for joining us. So we're going to begin this morning with breaking news overnight. The end of a dramatic standoff between NYPD officers and student protesters at Columbia University. Roughly 100 people were arrested after officers in riot gear were able to get back into a building, it's called Hamilton Hall, that had dozens of students barricaded in.
This was the scene left behind after the NYPD raided the building last night. The all-clear was given 2 hours after police descended on the university. Columbia University issued a statement in response to its decision to call police on student protesters. Officials said, quote, "We regret that protesters have chosen to escalate the situation through their actions after the university learned overnight that Hamilton Hall had been occupied, vandalized, and blockaded. We were left with no choice. We will not risk the safety of our community or the potential for further escalation." New this morning, we are monitoring the situation on the West Coast at UCLA, where violent clashes occurred between pro-Palestine demonstrators and counter-protesters. The LAPD responded to the unrest on campus overnight, just hours after UCLA administrators deemed the student encampments unlawful. Now, it's unclear if any arrests have been made. Sky News correspondent Martha Kellner was on the scene overnight. Here's some of what she saw.
I'm wearing a gas mask similarly to the California State Police because around an hour ago some sort of substance came from within that pro-Palestinian encampment. I don't know whether it was pepper spray or tear gas. I think probably pepper spray. But people taking precautions. I've seen people with milk which they're using to wash their eyes out. The president of this university, around 2 hours ago now, requested the support of Los Angeles Police Department officers here on this campus as they struggled, the UCLA Police Department struggled to bring this situation under control.
NBC News correspondent Rahima Ellis is at Columbia University with the very latest. Rahima, good morning. So walk us through how these events unfolded last night here in New York. How unprecedented was this scene, and what are we hearing from faculty and students?
Well, Joe, good morning. As you pointed out, the university president issued a statement saying about that they felt the need to call in NYPD after they thought the situation had really gotten out of control. We have been told that there have been ongoing negotiations and talks between students, faculty, and the administration, and that they held off calling off the NYPD until the talks simply broke down. But what a difference a day makes out here. Across the street is Hamilton Hall, and there are no protesters. The building right behind me is a building, Hamilton Hall, that police went into carefully, not breaking the windows, but opening the window in order to get in. They were using this Bearcat large machine with a ladder attached to it that allowed the officers to go into the building. And you talk about the question of how unprecedented is it. In fact, these are echoes of campus protests from decades ago, and exactly 56 years ago here on the campus of Columbia University, there was another demonstration. That one was about Vietnam War, and this one was about Gaza. but they had to go in then and remove students, and students had also been occupying Hamilton Hall. I've got an update I want to share with you, Joe, about the number of those who were arrested. We just heard that there were some 230 students, or protesters, I should say, who were arrested here at the Columbia University campus, and 40 to 50 protesters were taken out of Hamilton Hall last night. Joe?
Rahima, one of the big things here has been if professional agitators, that's what officials, that's what police have been calling them, are sort of infiltrating these protests, trying to create chaos on campus rather than this just being the actual students of the campus. What do we know about that? And is the fact that police actually did eventually go into Hamilton Hall linked to those alleged agitators?
We hope to know more about that in a news conference that's coming up in a couple of hours from now, Savannah. But what we do know is that Mayor Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, last night he said officials believe that non-students were involved and, quote, it has been co-opted by outside agitators. So last night they thought that that might be the case. We will hopefully find out more precisely about the number of people who were students with student IDs and how many of those people who were arrested were non-students and were indeed what police are calling agitators, which brought this to a head and made it imperative, as university officials say, for them to call in the NYPD. Savannah and Joe?
Rahima, let's look ahead. First, what happens to any students who were arrested last night and also those students occupying the encampment, and also the NYPD. How long are they going to stay at Columbia?
To that question, we are told that NYPD will be here until May 17th. Graduation is May 15th. And they want to make certain, the university wants to make certain, that these tents that were littering the south lawn of the campus do not go back up. And they also want to create a peaceful atmosphere so that graduation can occur here. A graduation from some students who 4 years ago, because of COVID, they did not have a formal graduation from high school. So they want to give these students something that they missed out before. So again, May 15th graduation, May 17th, authorities say NYPD presence will be on this campus until then. Joe?
All right, Rahima Ellis, thank you so much.
Well, as protests over the war in Gaza rock college campuses across the country, the Biden administration is pressing for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas.
Earlier today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Hamas to accept a proposal for a truce and a hostage release agreement. He's also meeting with Israeli leaders in Jerusalem, hoping to secure a peace deal and increase the flow of aid into Gaza. It comes a day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to carry out a large-scale invasion of Rafah, even if a hostage deal comes together. U.S. officials say they are optimistic a deal can be reached, but time is running out.
NBC News International correspondent Raf Sanchez is in Tel Aviv and has the latest for us. Raf, good morning. So what is the latest on negotiations? Are we any closer to a deal?
Savannah, Joe, good morning. There is one small spot of hope this morning. There are Israeli negotiators in Cairo today. That is a trip that has been delayed by a couple of days, but the fact that they are there does indicate that there is something to talk about at this point. Now, the proposal on the table would see Hamas releasing some 33 hostages from the so-called humanitarian category. So that's women, it's children, it's the elderly, it's people with serious medical conditions. In return, Israel in this first phase of the deal would agree to a 40-day ceasefire and the release of potentially thousands of Palestinian prisoners. That's according to Israeli, Arab, and Western officials. Now, we spoke to a Hamas official earlier on today. They say Hamas is studying that proposal. They will respond in their own time, but they say there are major sticking points, and the most important is this question of whether any ceasefire would be temporary, which is what Israel says needs to happen, or whether this deal needs to lead to an end to the war altogether, which is what Hamas says needs to happen. So how to bridge that gap is one of the key questions in these negotiations. Guys.
Raf, Secretary Blinken met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu today. The IDF's planned military assault on Rafah is really just remaining a point of contention between the U.S. and Israel, and Netanyahu is not letting up on his plans for that large-scale invasion. Talk about the timing of Netanyahu's comments yesterday and why Israel is so determined to launch this offensive.
So, Joe, as of a couple of minutes ago, Secretary Blinken was still meeting Prime Minister Netanyahu in Jerusalem. That meeting running very, very long, which may be an indication that they have a lot to thrash out. Top of that list, Israel's plans to go into Rafah. The timing, as you noted, is significant. It potentially makes Secretary Blinken's delicate diplomatic work that much more difficult when you have Prime Minister Netanyahu saying deal or no deal, he is going into Rafah. One possibility here is that he is trying to increase the pressure on Hamas at the negotiating table. But, guys, he is under pressure himself from the far right of his own cabinet, who are saying that Israel should not make more concessions to Hamas and that they need to go into Rafah, whatever happens. Guys.
All right, Raf, thank you so much for your reporting.
Just after midnight, a controversial 6-week abortion ban went into effect in Florida, replacing a 15-week ban there. This means it's now a felony to perform or actively participate in the procedure, though there are some exceptions. Also, Florida now requires 2 in-person visits to a clinic ahead of an abortion.
Florida was one of the last remaining southern states to allow abortions up to 15 weeks. But now many women could have to travel even further to get the procedure.
NBC News Washington correspondent Michelle Sindor joins us from Charlottesville, Virginia, which is bracing for an influx of patients now that the abortion ban in Florida is in effect. So, Yamiche, Virginia is now one of the closest states for many of those in the South who are looking to get an abortion. Realistically, how many patients could head there, and how is the community there preparing for it?
Well, good morning on what is really a consequential day for abortion access across this country. With Florida's 6-week abortion ban going into effect, that really impacts access across the Southeast, including, of course, here in a place like Virginia, because Virginia, as you noted, is going to be now one of the last places in the South where women are going to be able to go to get abortion care. And I've been talking to people here in Charlottesville. I'm outside an abortion clinic right now. They said this year already, roughly 25%, a quarter of their patients have come from out of town. Before Roe was overturned, they said it was so rare, very rare to see a patient come out of town. Now they're treating women every single day from states like Texas, Alabama. Yesterday were treating someone from Florida, and they're bracing for this influx by adding hours, as well as bracing for the idea that they're going to have to help women fund. They told me a number of the women that come here and that travel hours or take planes, that they need financial aid to get here because a number of them are facing financial struggles when they come to the abortion clinics in Virginia. So here in Virginia, they are absolutely getting ready for this and already sort of changing the way that they're doing things to help more women as this continues to go on.
Let's talk about the women at the heart of this. What are you learning about the actual patients who are traveling there from places like Florida?
Well, the people here at this abortion clinic where I spent all day yesterday talking to folks here, they told me that the average woman that's coming here is someone who's already a mother, who's already sort of struggling and struggling financially to figure out sort of how to move on with life and how to figure out how to support her family. And she's also someone who's likely come from a long distance, usually from states like Alabama or Mississippi or Texas. I also specifically talked to a patient care advocate. She's someone who had an abortion herself and talks to patients. She spoke to me yesterday about a mother who came here from Florida. Take a listen to what she told me.
When I talked to her in counseling, she had expressed she is a mom. She has 3 children. And her reason was, I simply can't do this anymore. I could not imagine having to start over again. And she said, I know that's awful. And I said, no, it's not. You know that you know your limits. I'm just sorry that you had to drive 11 hours just to seek basic health care.
So again, that was a patient care advocate talking specifically about a patient from Florida that was here yesterday. That patient was able to get her procedure done, and her healthcare officials tell me that she at some point started to relax, but she came in like so many other people from out of state, very stressed out, very nervous. And also they're telling people here, if you do get an abortion and you go back to your state, you don't have to tell the health professionals there. So there's a lot of anxiety when people come here from out of state that they might get arrested when they go back to their state, though it is very legal here in Virginia still to have abortions.
So, Yamiche, we know that Florida's abortion policies could change again in November. That's because voters will have a chance to vote on a proposed amendment to the state's constitution. It would enshrine abortion access. What are you hearing from people about that?
there are a lot of people who are hoping in Florida, as I've talked to some people, that they are going to be able to enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution. They were very happy with the split decision in some ways that the Supreme Court did there when they said that this 6-week ban could go into effect, but that people would also be able to vote to possibly go all the way up to viability, where women would maybe even be about 24 weeks pregnant and still able to get an abortion. Here in Virginia, what they're hoping for is that people will just be able to have access to the care that they need. They're also hoping that lawmakers will in some ways trust the health professionals and the women and the people involved in those decisions and stop restricting abortion. Take a listen to what a registered nurse who performed abortions just yesterday at this clinic told me.
Let doctors and women and nurses figure out what is the best procedure for women. The politicians really are not qualified to make this decision. They didn't go to medical school. They didn't go to nursing school. They're not qualified.
And that registered nurse, who also told me her own abortion story, said that she really feels like she is doing the purpose of her life is to help these women have choice, have access to their bodies, have access to the care that they need. But she also told me she's very worried that maybe politicians don't understand that when they restrict abortion in a place like Florida, women end up here in Virginia, but they're farther along in their pregnancies. So you have women who are now sometimes paying double what they might pay if they had their abortion in Florida. And also that the procedure is a little bit more risky because when you have a procedure at 6 weeks versus 16 weeks, the pregnancy is bigger, she told me. So she also said she just really wants politicians to try to leave this in the hands of health officials. Of course, we know the abortion landscape is changing all the time, and that is, at this point, not going to happen. Joe, Savannah.
All right, Yamiche, thank you so much.
Let's talk more about this with NBC News legal analyst Angela Sanadella. Angela, good to have you with us as always. So let's talk specifically kind of about what this law lays out. So it says it's a felony to perform or participate in the procedure of an abortion anytime after 6 weeks. How is that enforced, and what's the penalty? What's the punishment here?
Well, given that it is a felony, that means that it can be punishable for over a year in jail. And you are actually a felon if you perform or actively participate in an abortion. Now, there are a number of exceptions to this ban, and that includes rape, incest, human trafficking, or if there is a fatal fetal abnormality, or if the mother's life is in danger. And then lastly, or if there's substantial and irreversible risk of physical impairment. So that means that prosecutors can charge starting from today if they want to. There's no pattern around the country that when a new law goes into effect, how quickly or how aggressively prosecutors charge. So we're not really clear on how they will, but they reserve the right to.
Are there any means left to challenge this ban in Florida?
Not really. I mean, we know what happened with this last 15-week ban, and that was really a challenge to the legislators' right to even pass this legislation. So because it was upheld for the 15-week ban, that cross-applied to this 6-week ban. And there, the argument was that in the state constitution, there is this right to privacy, which could possibly cover abortion. But the state Supreme Court ruled it does not. So there is no direct legal challenge there. I do expect to see a lot of litigation around the definitions. That's what tends to happen. So, for example, what is substantial and irreversible? What is a fatal fetal abnormality? Doctors aren't always sure immediately, but what this means is that it takes the power away from doctors generally to have this discretion. There's nowhere in this bill that says it's up to the doctors to decide. It means the prosecutors are in charge and get to decide.
So as Yamiche was just saying, and as Joe smartly asked her about, this is going to be on the ballot, essentially, whether to enshrine this in the Constitution of the state or not. If that passes, is this over? Does this just get reversed and we're done with this conversation in Florida?
Yes. So the only reason that the legislators were able to pass any of these bans is because the Supreme Court ruled that there is no right in the Constitution. But if 60% of the voters in Florida pass this Amendment 4 and then it becomes enshrined in that Constitution, no legislators in the state of Florida can pass any legislation that would prevent an abortion prior to viability, which is estimated to be around 24 weeks. So that would change the game. This ban would then be unconstitutional and no legislation could be passed. So it's a strange case where there is this dissonance between maybe what the voters want and what the legislators want. It's very unique.
Angela Sanadella, as always, thank you.
This morning, former President Donald Trump is facing the threat of jail time. The judge overseeing his New York criminal hush money trial issued that warning after holding Trump in contempt for violating a gag order. The judge fined Mr. Trump $9,000 Tuesday for repeatedly violating that order. As NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett explains, that may just be the beginning.
Former President Trump hit with a $9,000 fine at his hush money trial, with the judge finding multiple violations of the gag order prohibiting Mr. Trump from attacking witnesses, now threatening to throw him behind bars, saying jail may be a necessary punishment in the future. Mr. Trump's attorneys had argued it's unfair to hold him accountable for reposting criticism others have voiced, and that certain witnesses like Michael Cohen frequently attack Mr. Trump. The presumptive Republican nominee later deleting the 9 posts about Cohen and Stormy Daniels that landed him in hot water.
This gag order is not only unique, it's totally unconstitutional. I'm the Republican candidate for President of the United States. There's no crime. There's no anything here.
The former president joined in court by son Eric, the first family member to attend. The prosecution calling Keith Davidson, the lawyer who represented Daniels, and Karen McDougal, 2 women who say they had sex with Mr. Trump, which he has denied. Mr. Trump is charged with a low-level felony, falsifying business records over his reimbursements to Cohen, who allegedly made the hush money payments. Davidson testifying that after the release of that damaging Access Hollywood tape, interest in what Daniels had to say reached a crescendo. But Davidson only testified about dealings with Cohen, not offering evidence of Mr. Trump's knowledge of the plans.
And this fight over the gag order is not over. The judge is going to hold yet another hearing this coming Thursday morning on additional violations that the prosecutor has accused the former president of. Back to you.
All right, Laura, thank you.
Let's now get you over to weather. This morning, millions of Americans across the plains are bracing for yet another round of severe weather.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman's tracking that system for us. Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. It is a repeat performance kind of day. We've seen this really a whole lot over the past week or so, and we're going to see once again another chance for us to see strong storms that could present us with some severe weather as well as some flooding concerns. So let's start with just the big picture right now. Here's what the radar looks like. We've had a fairly active kind of morning across parts of the southern plains. We've got flood watches up for 5 million people. I wouldn't be surprised if that expands here as the day goes on today and even into tomorrow. Here's why. We've got one area that we're watching for moderate flood risk. We'll talk more about that. That's specifically centered over parts of east central Texas. But we've also got these storms that are going to develop here as the day goes on. So all of those same hazards are on the table. Specifically, we're most concerned about the hail. We're talking large hail, 3-inch hail. That is teacup size hail, if you can put that into perspective. And it spans a good chunk of the plains. Once again, some of those same areas that we've seen with the repeated performance of the strong storms over the past couple of days. As we get into the day tomorrow, we'll see that cold front work a little farther to the east. It does move over parts of the Mississippi Valley. And you guessed it, another round of some showers and thunderstorms. Now, the risk area isn't quite as big and it's not quite as intense as what we're looking at for today. The chances are a little lower, but we still have the possibility to see some hail about 1 inch in size and those damaging winds and even a couple of tornadoes. I mentioned the flooding concern, and we are specifically going to watch that across parts of Oklahoma and Texas. Where you see that pink shading, that's the moderate risk. It does include Austin. That's where we'll likely see some of these storms bringing us with hourly rainfall rates of 1 to 3 inches. It's not going to be hard to pick up a good amount of rain in a short period of time. So those saturated grounds picking up additional rain, likely going to cause some flash flooding concerns across that region, not just today, but even into tomorrow and through Friday. Some spots could pick up to 5 inches. I think more widespread amounts, 1 to 3 inches, but the flooding concern will be there again with the chance for 5 inches or more across that region. And that is just one facet of this kind of active pattern that we're in, guys, where we look ahead even in early next week. We could see another round of some of these really strong storms developing across the plains. It is spring after all. We oftentimes see kind of an active pattern there, and we definitely are dealing with just that.
Yep. Just about to get to the Mayflowers part, right?
Yeah,
April showers.
Often not in that part of the country.
Exactly.
There's a lot of tornadoes and severe weather. All right, thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a joint effort. Two federal agencies now working to ease up on marijuana restrictions. We'll tell you about the new plan to reclassify the drug and what it could mean for users.
But first, though, after the break, inflation frustration. The Fed expected to announce its decision on interest rates today. What you can expect and how it could impact your bottom line. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Interest rates and inflation will be front and center this afternoon as the Federal Reserve wraps up its latest meeting today.
The Fed is set to announce its decision on whether to lower or raise interest rates or keep them steady in the fight against inflation. Interest rates are at their highest level in more than a decade, but prices are continuing to climb.
NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us now with more on what to expect. So I guess the odds are pretty slim we're going to see a drop in interest rates here. What can we expect, right?
Yeah, well, markets are pricing in basically no chance that the Federal Reserve will do anything with its interest rate decision today, which it's a funny news item, right? Like, oh, what's the news? The news is that the Fed's not going to do anything with interest rates. But again, the reason why is because they've already made borrowing costs so high to try to get inflation down, and inflation still remains sticky. So they don't really have an incentive to cut or ease interest rates at this moment, knowing that the battle is not yet done on inflation. That's a reason why markets are pricing in the likelihood that that rate cut that we've all been waiting for likely won't come until maybe somewhere closer to September.
So how is the Fed explaining kind of this balance that they've been trying to strike? Because, as you say, rates are still high. People are still waiting to buy those homes, things like that. And then inflation's still high. Weren't these interest rate hikes supposed to combat that?
Yeah, and I think the question is, though, how long does it take for those high interest rates to get the desired outcome, which is getting inflation to the Federal Reserve's target of 2%. Now, we all know that things are expensive at the store, so what do borrowing costs have to do with that? The idea is that if the Fed ratchets up how much it costs you to put, charges to your credit card, to buy a house, to take out an automotive loan, well, then in theory, maybe the demand for overall spending goes down. That could take some steam out of inflation, which it has. We have to remember that the rate of price increases was somewhere closer to 9% in the summer of 2022. Now it's somewhere between 3 to 4%. But again, that's not the 2% they're looking for. That's the reason why the Fed is saying, all right, we're not going to cut interest rates yet. We're also not further raising interest rates. That's an important note as well.
Yeah. If not today, when could interest rates drop? What will you be listening for today to get some sort of indication for what lies ahead?
Yeah, well, the Federal Reserve decision is expected at 2 p.m. today. Then there's going to be a press conference at 2:30 where the Fed Chairman Jay Powell might offer some, tea leaves into whether or not they'll have some specific timing on when they'll do the interest rate cut. The Federal Reserve is usually pretty reticent to offer an exact timing on it's going to happen on this date, it's going to happen on that date. But markets are betting that it's more likely somewhere closer to September we'll see that first interest rate cut. But we have to remember, I mean, that's a pushback timeline. Going into 2024, there were market expectations that rate cut could come in June, less likely based on the inflation data we've seen so far.
All right, Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you. Coming up, a major shift when it comes to breast cancer screening. When we come back in our weekly checkup, what women need to know about the new recommendations that were just announced.
And federal officials weeding out old rules when it comes to marijuana. We'll tell you about the plans to reclassify cannabis next on Morning News Now.
It is time now for our weekly checkup. Today we've got new recommendations regarding breast cancer screenings. They've just been unveiled.
Plus, bad memories may be bad for your health. A new study shows that reliving times that made you angry could affect your heart.
Well, interesting. NBC News medical contributor Dr. John Torres is in studio with us for the latest. Hi, Dr. John.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Sorry we're not talking about the eclipse. Everybody that I was with on that day, I'm like, sorry, because it was so much fun. Okay, tell us about these new breast cancer screening guidelines. Really important for women to know.
So this is the USPSTF, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. They're the ones that look at decisions and say, okay, now we're going to change the recommendations for screening tests. And in this case, over the last year or so, they've had these draft recommendations out, and they finally went live with them. And what they're saying is women 40 and above every 2 years should be getting mammograms, and those mammograms should go up to the age of 74. Now, this is causing a little bit of controversy because the American Cancer Society is saying, no, they should be every year, and they shouldn't stop at 74. They should stop once a woman has no longer 10 years to live or is not expected to live 10 years more. So it could be up to 80, 85. It depends on how healthy the person is as they get older. And so, but for right now, the important thing is it's dropping it down for the woman who is an average risk of breast cancer, age 40, every other year. And the important part is insurance companies look at USPSTF and they say that's what we're going to cover. So that's what we think is going to happen.
All right.
That's some not so good news then.
Well, it's good news they're dropping the age. The controversy there is whether it should be every year or every other year, but at least they're getting them.
Here's one that is fitting with the NBA playoffs in session right now. It's a new study that takes a look at time zone travel and then how tired you are. So the question is, can jet lag affect how a team performs? Is there anything we can all learn from
And there's things we can all learn, and it definitely does affect them. As a matter of fact, the study looked at 25,000 games over the last 21 seasons, and they found for teams that are on the West Coast, if an East Coast team visits them, they have a 10% higher chance or higher ratio of wins. In other words, they're more likely to win a game than if a West Coast team visits the East Coast. The East Coast team is not going to have, they're not going to have as good an issue there. So basically what this is saying is the West Coast teams seem to do better because of the way jet lag works. You're coming west instead of going east. This is lessons for all of us. So what are the doctor's orders here?
All the NBA teams are moving west.
Exactly. So the doctor's orders here are basically to understand that you need to work in rest time, especially if you're doing something athletic or if you have a presentation you have to give the next day. Make sure you give yourself some time to acclimate, because they found out if you acclimated, they got there a day early instead of the day of the game. They did much, much better. And then just realize that this is going to happen as well. The third one, the doctor's orders is not on there, is that the Denver Nuggets are going to win this whole thing because they're right in the middle of the country, and that's what makes it good.
And that's whom I wonder who lives in Colorado. Okay, this next one is so interesting to me. So this is reliving moments that made you angry, kind of living in that moment. It can actually be bad for you.
It can be bad for you. And we know that anger is a bad thing, and we need to understand how to control our anger. We all get angry from time to time, but what they found out is these episodes of brief anger, they actually looked at the blood flow and what's called the epithelial lining in the vessels. And the vessels constricted when they got angry, and they didn't relax even 40 minutes later, which is important because that's restricting blood flow to especially to hearts and brains and those things that we need to make sure that stay healthy and have that blood flow. And they actually found out that anxiety and sadness did not trigger the same thing. It was that anger. Thinking is, if you continue with that anger, that could cause issues, especially if you can't control that anger over time, and that's just going to build up and not allow it to relax. So what are the doctor's orders here? Well, first and foremost, like I said, you just understand this kind of thing and realize that the mind, the heart, the body, there's a big connection there, and so you need to make sure that it's all good and lined up and that you can take care of your anger. If you do have anger issues, anger management is an important thing to look at.
Oh, yeah. Everyone deals with anger, and you don't want to bottle it up. You just want to find it.
There is. We all get angry from time to time. It's dealing with it that's important.
Ruminate.
All right.
Exactly.
Here's one. If you think you're supposed to envy the popular kids, maybe you shouldn't because they don't sleep as much.
And we all, especially in high school, we all saw those popular kids. I was not one of them, but we looked at them and go, oh, I'd like to be like that. Well, it turns out they're not sleeping as much and they're not sleeping as well. It was a Swedish study, looked at 1,300 teenagers, and they found out that those who were most popular ended up not being able to sleep. Basically, if the more popular they were, the less sleep you had, up to 30 minutes less than those children that weren't very popular. And girls in particular, they ended up suffering from insomnia more. Now, why do they think this is happening? This study took place before and after cell phones and smartphones. So they don't think it's necessarily completely smartphone related, although that might be causing some issues. But they do think that if you're popular, you have to work on that. That takes some work, both emotional work and physical work, to keep that popularity going. They think that's what's causing some of the sleep disruptions up at night, trying to constantly keep your friends happy and make sure you're still popular. So what are doctors' orders here? It's okay to be popular. And again, we all want to be popular, so that's not one of them. But just realize that you might have that 30 minutes of sleep that's not happening. And so I always talk about sleep hygiene. 30 minutes before you go to bed, start slowing things down, start thinking about going to bed, relaxing, those kinds of things. Parents, that works for teenagers too, so try and get that. Get the phones out of the rooms, because nowadays with smartphones, they're going to be in there trying to contact their friends, especially if they're very popular, and stick to consistent schedules. That can help as well.
Great advice, as always, on all the things. Dr. John Torres, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Now to the historic first step from the federal government in changing how it classifies marijuana. The Biden administration is expected to announce an interim rule to reclassify the drug. It's the first time this has happened since the Controlled Substances Act became law more than half a century ago.
The DEA is expected to approve an opinion from the Department of Health and Human Services to reclassify cannabis from a Schedule I drug. That's the strictest classification, where it is among drugs like heroin and LSD, as you can see on your screen, to a Schedule III drug, less strict.
For more, we're joined by NBC News senior White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, good to see you. So rescheduling, this has nothing to do with your personal calendar. So what exactly does this entail, and what could it mean for people from a legal standpoint and also a medical standpoint?
Good to be with you, Joe and Savannah. And this is one step in a long process, but it does have big cultural implications and in many ways tells the story about how this particular drug, marijuana, has been viewed differently over time. At this point, what it really says is it opens the door to research and to different kinds of study about what are the medical benefits potentially of marijuana and how could that be harnessed in new ways now. That so separates it from those other class 1 drugs like heroin and LSD for which there is no known medical benefit. It is one step because there is a public comment period, so this could change during that time. Certainly Congress could weigh in and make other changes, but we've seen how in many states around the country, at the state level, there have been changes to how marijuana is treated. It is now a commodity where people can purchase it at their corner store. This at the federal level, marijuana remains an illegal substance, but this is a step toward a better understanding, an evolved understanding of what it is and what it could become in terms of some public benefit. So many people will say this is a part of a swing over time. That classification goes back to 1971, so we're talking about a really long time. And the Biden administration has said for quite a while they want to decriminalize aspects of this. They want to change how society deals with it. And certainly many people in the society have seen medical benefits, have seen positive things. So this could open the door to that kind of research. It could allow for medical and pharmaceutical companies to take a different approach. One step, but a very significant one. Joe,
Absolutely.
Savannah?
Kelly, what comes next in this process?
Well, there will be that public comment period that I indicated, and then ultimately the Office of Management and Budget has to set its view on this. So when the federal government deals with rules, there is a lot of bureaucracy, but at the same time, this really today is about changing attitudes, opening a door to new policy and new possibilities for how this could be used, especially in a medical sphere where people are looking for pain relief for chronic conditions, looking for ways to harness potential benefits. So it will take time. It could be derailed if there was pushback from Congress or public comment period changes things. But it certainly seems like a shift in culture and a shift in understanding is now following along in the sort of the realm of doesn't always get a lot of attention, federal rules and specific things that are on the books. Joe, Savannah?
All right. Kelly O'Donnell. Kelly, thank you so much. Coming up, Harvey Weinstein back in court. The disgraced movie mogul set to face a judge today, 1 week after his sexual assault conviction was overturned.
When we return, more on today's hearing and what happens next. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. Disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is set to appear in a Manhattan courtroom this afternoon.
This follows an appeals court's decision last week to overturn the former film executive's 2020 sexual assault conviction.
NBC News correspondent Chloe Malas sat through every day of that trial here in New York, and she joins us from outside the courthouse now. Chloe, good morning. What can we expect in the courtroom today?
So over the weekend, Harvey Weinstein was actually hospitalized at Bellevue because he's had numerous health issues over the years, and he was transferred to Rikers. So he's going to be stepping foot in the same courthouse where he was convicted in 2020. So it was that landmark Me Too moment when those allegations first came forward in 2017. It's been nearly 7 years since those initial stories broke by Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey from the New York Times and Ronan Farrow. And this is a very significant moment. Harvey Weinstein has been serving a 23-year prison sentence at Mohawk Correctional Facility upstate. And it's going to be interesting to see if the judge today assigns a new court date, because the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has said that they do plan, Savannah and Joe, to retry this specific case.
Chloe, so is there any sense of when that could happen?
I was actually speaking to NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos last week, who says that there's not a lot of lead-up time when you're going to be retried. It really comes down to what witnesses the prosecutors are able to get. According to Judah Engelmeyer, a spokesperson for Harvey Weinstein, he told me last week after the court's decision was announced that the conviction was being overturned, that some of the witnesses have timed out. So what does that mean, and which witnesses are those that aren't going to be able to testify if there is another trial? trial. So we could see a trial date set today, and it could potentially be as early as maybe this fall. And then the big question is, will Harvey Weinstein in the meantime be extradited to California, where he was convicted of rape and assault charges, and he has a 16-year sentence that he is facing, and his legal team is actually in the process of trying to appeal that. Now, Harvey Weinstein's legal team, guys, has said that they believe that he will be a free man, that they will fight a potential new trial, that they actually are going to try to get him to be released on bond into protective custody with an ankle monitor out in California while they wait for this potential new New York criminal trial.
Chloe, what are the next steps when it comes to the California conviction? How soon could we hear something on that one?
So, I mean, these sentences, Savannah, were supposed to run concurrently. So 23 years and then the 16-year sentence out in California. But it's really a question of, is he going to start serving that 16-year sentence now while he awaits a potential New York trial? And, you know, the district attorney says that they want to have another criminal trial here in New York, but that is a steep mountain to climb. Will it actually happen? Will that actually come together? Harvey Weinstein's legal team, his spokesperson, Judah Engelmeyer, was actually telling me yesterday that they want to see if the last year and a half can count as time served towards his 16-year sentence in California. As you can see, a lot of unknowns, but hopefully some answers will come to light this afternoon when Harvey Weinstein steps foot in that courthouse behind me at 2:15.
Chloe, you mentioned over the weekend Weinstein was hospitalized. Real quickly, how much does his health play into any decisions that are being made here?
You know, we saw him with a walker in the criminal trial in 2019, and according to his attorney, Arthur Adelia, and his spokesperson, they've all said that he has hearing issues, he has eyesight issues, he has heart issues, you know, all of these alleged medical issues, and that's why he was treated, and a series of tests were performed over the weekend. Will a judge decide that maybe he needs to be in some sort of a medical facility under protective custody? Again, we should have those answers at the hearing this afternoon.
All right, Chloe, thank you very much. Coming up, we are pulling back the curtain on this year's Tony Awards.
Well, that's right. The nominees were just announced, including several shows you may have heard us talking about right here on Morning News Now. We're going to break it all down next.
Welcome back. Ryan Gosling and SNL's Mikey Day made quite the impression at the LA premiere for Gosling's new movie, The Fall Guy, last night. Okay, so first, just a moment ago, you saw Gosling stun fans in a mint green suit. He looked great. But then he walked the carpet again as this. This time he was wearing a blonde wig and sporting that viral Beavis Death Rock shirt. By his side was Mikey Day dressed as Butthead. The dynamic duo made headlines last month after a side-splitting SNL sketch featuring the classic animated characters, even breaking other SNL stars like Heidi Gardner simply by sitting in a studio audience. The sketch now has more than 13 million views on YouTube. I just think it's so funny, in addition to obviously the whole Beavis and Butthead thing, that he did the change. She came out in the mint green suit, and then it's like, wait, what?
A brilliant way to get attention. I love it. All right. Thank you, Savannah. The 2024 Tony nominations are officially out this year. It was really down to the wire. 12 Broadway shows opened with just 9 days left in the eligibility deadline. In all, 36 shows, both musicals and plays, were eligible this year, and a pretty good chunk of them, 28, picked up at least one nomination. That includes Hell's Kitchen. It's the semi-biographical musical by Alicia Keys. I recently had Hell's Kitchen director Michael Greif on our segment Curtain Call. He talked about why he was so attracted to the show.
I love this story. It's a story about a really courageous single mom, and it's a story about affordable housing and how New York can be a great, great environment for people of all kinds of economic brackets.
He is just one of 5 guests from our Curtain Call segment who scored a Tony nomination this year. So there's the message right there. You want a Tony nomination? Come on NBC News now. Joining us now to talk about the nominations, Broadway writer and content creator Felicia Fitzpatrick. Good morning. Good to see you. All right.
Good to see you too.
So we talk about Hell's Kitchen receiving 13 nominations, tied for the most. That includes Best New Musical. That's the big award of the night. We really went into the nominations with Best New Musical, not really knowing who the front runner was going to be this year. How do you sum up the competition in that category?
Well, I have notes because there is just so much, and I felt like Steve Kornacki yesterday, like at my computer, and I was like, I need a smart board.
elephants.
Kornacki.
Yeah, the Broadway Kornacki. But we have Hell's Kitchen, like you said. We have Illinois, Outsiders, Suffs, and Water for Elephants. And you're right, there's no clear front runner right now. But I think what's interesting is Illinois is a dance review because there's no actual dialogue. It's movement and it's music. But we've actually seen, it was Fosse in 1999, I believe, and Contact in 2000. They won Best Musical.
Yep.
So anything's possible.
But it does seem like Hell's Kitchen and Outsiders might now be the top two.
Yeah, because they have the most nominations. We have 13 for Hell's Kitchen, 12 for Outsiders. So June 16th is going to be an exciting night. Full surprises.
Let's talk about the plays. So tied with Hell's Kitchen for most nominations is a play. It's stereophonic. It is brilliant. It is 3 hours long.
But everyone's loving it.
But let's talk about this best play category.
Yeah, for that we have Jaja's African Hair Braiding by Jocelyn Beale, which was in the fall, and it closed, but still got some love yesterday. Mary Jane, Mother Play, Prayer for the French Republic, and then Stereophonic, like you said, it actually made history with its 13 nominations because Slave Play held the record with 12 in 2020, but now Stereophonic has beat it.
And what's interesting, there are 7 performers in Stereophonic. 5 of them got Tony nominations, which is pretty incredible. So.
And it got Best Score nomination, which is not unheard of for plays, but the fact that it got it is kind of interesting.
It does that because there is music in it. There's original music in the show, but it is still a play.
Still play.
So if you like plays, that's good ones for you. All right. I love the best directing categories. Of course, there's 2 for one for play, 1 for musical. 7 of the 10 nominees are women. How significant is that?
It's big. It's the first time there's ever been that many women in those categories. I believe the record was 4 women across the 2 categories in 2022, if my math is correct.
So that's shattered.
So it's shattered, yeah. It's the first time there's more women than men in these categories, and I think it's a great milestone for representation. You know, they're historically underrepresented, and so this is kind of a new chapter.
And there's so many amazing shows that they've directed, as you see there. All right, we always have to talk about the snubs and the surprises. You have some snubs, you think, right?
Yeah, for me it's The Wiz. There were 8 shows that were left out completely, and I'm someone that I hate when anyone's left out, but for The Wiz, everyone was so excited leading up to the Broadway opening, and audiences have been loving it, but the Tony nominators not so much because it got 0. And then I think also, I think people were expecting Steve Carell to get a nomination for Uncle Vanya. He's so beloved for his screen roles and was excited to have him on Broadway, but he didn't clinch it yesterday. And I think the bright side of it is that his co-star William Jackson Harper did get the nomination for his role in Uncle Vanya, so they can still celebrate that.
And if that name sounds familiar, there you see you're a fan of The Good Place, which was on NBC for so many years.
Love that show.
That is his category. My snub, I guess, was I loved Harmony, and I was hoping that it would do better, but it did close early, and that sometimes is what happens when shows close early.
Factors in.
You don't get those. All right, so we sum it up. We also have the revival categories.
Yes.
And the musical Merrily We Roll Along is rolling along.
It's rolling along, and it's a fan favorite, which is so interesting because when it first opened back in 1981 or 82, it was not beloved, and so now it's kind of had this resurgence, and it could very well take that category. I think its main competitor would be Cabaret if I had to choose to go head-to-head.
Possibly, but I think Merrily We Roll Along's got that one, and Revival of a Play will also be a category folks keep an eye on. A show called Appropriate has gotten a lot of attention. Sarah Paulson stars in that. She's got a Tony nomination.
Yes, and I love Brandon Jacob Jenkins. He's such a great playwright. So I think that could be it too.
All right, so much exciting stuff to talk about. So much for you to check out if you're in the New York area leading up to the Tonys. Felicia Fitzpatrick, always good to have you on.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, y'all.
Don't go anywhere. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this Wednesday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, campus crackdown. Violent clashes overnight at UCLA, pitting police against pro-Palestinian demonstrators. It comes just hours after the NYPD stormed and cleared an occupied building at Columbia University, arresting hundreds in the process. We've got team coverage in just a moment. A contentious day in court for former President Trump. The judge in his hush money trial slapping Mr. Trump with a $9,000 fine, even threatening jail time if he violates that ongoing gag order again. We're breaking down what comes next as we hear critical testimony from an attorney who helped put that alleged hush money agreement into motion. Plus, a budding proposal from the White House this morning. The Biden administration now looking to reclassify marijuana, according to 4 people with knowledge of the decision. It would ease restrictions nationwide for the first time in more than 50 years. So what might that mean for America's blossoming cannabis industry in a critical election year? We'll take a look. And Diner Dash, later in the hour, the social media outrage behind all those greasy fast food price hikes. It's now got the attention of some of the biggest names in grab and go. Good to have you with us.
It is interesting.
And now you want fast food.
I sure do. Thank you for the burger pictures.
All right. We're going to begin this hour with those dramatic protest scenes at both coasts playing out overnight. In California, Los Angeles police responded to a violent outbreak at UCLA after counter-protesters clashed with pro-Palestinian demonstrators in the school's encampment.
And at Columbia University, police in riot gear took the campus by force in response to growing tensions between administrators and student protesters. Police here in New York were seen using these trucks to enter Hamilton Hall. That is where students had barricaded themselves until early Tuesday morning. More than 200 people were arrested overnight. NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin has the details.
Overnight in New York City, a tense drama unfolding at Columbia University. Police in riot gear swiftly taking back a building occupied by anti-war protesters. NYPD officers using a SWAT-style truck to enter Hamilton Hall by force.
The building was very heavily fortified.
Police video showing officers clearing the building, eventually taking about 100 people into custody.
You see the police in full riot gear leaving the campus.
The dramatic end coming just hours after officials revealed what they called evidence of professional agitators trying to create chaos on campus. There were also protests and arrests at the City University of New York overnight. And across the country at UCLA, clashes between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian demonstrators. Police moving in this morning. Over the past month, encampments have popped up on dozens of college campuses across the country, many inspired by the initial demonstration at Columbia. According to an NBC News tally, police have detained or arrested more than 1,300 people. Many protesters have been calling on their schools to divest or cut financial ties with Israel and companies they say are aiding the war.
We have to divest in order for us to have peace and to have justice in the region.
Columbia has said it will not divest from Israel, but offered more transparency. One of the central demands the protesters who had occupied Hamilton Hall had of the university. Students there before the police came in asking Columbia to allow food into the building.
Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation?
So it seems like you're sort of saying we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take over this building. Now would you please bring us some food and water?
Nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
As the protests go on, Jewish students at multiple schools have said they felt unsafe.
This should not be my number one concern, my safety and feeling overwhelmed by my environment.
And now graduation ceremonies are just days away for the class of 2024. The same students who had their high school graduations canceled 4 years ago by COVID.
I think the primary concern is just restoring peace and order to the university.
Our thanks to Aaron for that report. Columbia's president has also asked the NYPD to maintain a presence on campus through its commencement in mid-May to, quote, maintain order and ensure encampments are not reestablished.
Well, as divisions grow deeper here in the U.S. over the war in Gaza, we've learned Russia is exploiting the conflict online, including using AI to try to fuel unrest here. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson has more.
A new front in Russia's information war against the U.S., with the Kremlin shifting its focus to the war between Israel and Hamas, trying to inflame existing tensions in America, NBC News has learned from 2 sources familiar with the intelligence reporting and independent researchers. They say the Kremlin's using fake social media accounts and bots, along with propaganda pushed by state-run outlets. Just look at these posts attacking the U.S. government's response to campus protests. What is Russia's endgame here?
So Russia at times just wants to create more chaos.
So this is just a win for Russia anytime there is a conflict in the U.S.
Experts say the Kremlin's trying to position itself as a champion of Palestinians while condemning the U.S. for supporting Israel.
This is an opportunity for them. This is a chance to divert attention away from their invasion of Ukraine and to focus the world's attention on Israel's offensive in Gaza.
Researchers warn not to overstate the influence of the Russian campaign.
These protests would happen with or without Russia's involvement.
But looking ahead to November, some top U.S. officials recently sounding the alarm.
There is a history here in presidential elections by the Russian Federation, by its intelligence services, and there's plenty of reason to be concerned.
Our thanks to Hallie Jackson for that report. Well, the Kremlin has long denied interference, but with Russian actors now allegedly using AI to spread disinformation more easily, U.S. officials are bracing for what is to come.
Court will resume on Thursday in the hush money trial of former President Donald Trump here in New York.
Soon after court began yesterday, the judge ruled the former president to be in contempt for 9 violations of a gag order, and he fined him $1,000 for each violation. Mr. Trump was warned he could potentially be jailed for further violations.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now with more on this. All right, so we will have another hearing on the gag order tomorrow, but right now we're talking about last week's hearing. We finally heard what the judge wanted in this case. How realistic is the threat of jail time for the former president? What are your thoughts about what we heard yesterday?
I don't think this week, because in a sense, I think Justice Merchan recognizes that he set the floor. He set the baseline with his ruling this week. And if the hearing on Thursday is about allegations of things Trump already did, I think Justice Merchan would be unlikely to say, well, I decided 2 days ago that you could be jailed, and now I'm deciding that you will be jailed, even though those incidents had already happened. I think that he's going to give Trump another chance. But I do think we're going to see rolling hearings every week on gag order violations at this rate. We're only 2 weeks in and 2 gag order violation hearings. And Donald Trump shows no sign of not taking to social media. And I don't think he's nuanced enough to know when and when he's not getting too close to the gag order's limits.
Let's talk about the new developments from the witness stand. So we heard yesterday from Keith Davidson. He's a lawyer who's represented both Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, and he went into detail about these alleged hush money payments, how they came together. Tell us about why he's key here and what we learned from him.
A couple reasons. First, you get to see more of the seedy underbelly of paying off people who may have had relationships with celebrities, people like Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels. And even though the Karen McDougal case isn't a part of, he's not charged with the Karen McDougal payoff, it's all part of the context that the prosecutors want to show. But more important, Davidson was about establishing bookends of this transaction with Stormy Daniels, one that originated from Michael Cohen, was brokered through a bank, and we heard testimony from the banker, and then eventually landed in the trust account of attorney Davidson. So you have the complete transaction there. If I'm the people, if I'm the prosecution, I feel pretty good that they've established that transaction, but they still have a long way to go. They need evidence that Donald Trump was involved, directed, knew about all of this.
And what do you expect when Trump's team can cross-examine Davidson?
Davidson, they're probably going to go after the fact that maybe he doesn't remember everything. They're definitely going to point out the same thing they've done with other witnesses, which is you mostly dealt with Cohen, yet didn't deal so much with Donald Trump. They have to explore that. That's going to be key, because if the people can establish the transaction to Stormy Daniels, the only defense left really is either that Trump knew nothing about it or that it had nothing to do with the campaign.
All right, Danny, thank you so much.
Thanks, as always. Turning now to Florida, where a restrictive 6-week abortion ban is now officially in effect. State law makes it a felony to perform or actively participate in an abortion, though there are some exceptions. Florida was one of the last remaining southern states to allow abortions up to 15 weeks, but now women could have to travel hundreds of miles to have the procedure. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra joins us from Jacksonville, Florida on this. Marissa, good morning.
Hey there. Clinics behind me, clinics across the state have been preparing for today. In fact, there's a clinic down the road that just told me that they saw double the number of appointments as usual, trying to squeeze in as many appointments ahead of today's deadline. And here's something else interesting. They said 1/3 of the people who were there were from out of state. So something that is so important to remind everyone here is this has impacts far beyond Florida and really across the region.
This morning, an abortion ban with ripples far beyond the Sunshine State. after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and states began to form their own rules. Many women from surrounding states in the South, which have some of the strictest abortion laws in the country, traveled to Florida to seek abortion care. Florida now banning the procedure before many women even know they're pregnant. Starting today, the closest drivable options for abortion care are North Carolina and Virginia. Florida clinics like A Woman's World in Fort Pierce have been working overtime, trying to squeeze in every patient over 6 weeks pregnant before it became a felony to do so.
Last week, the phones were crazy. We couldn't answer the phones fast enough.
Supporters of the ban point out the law has exceptions for rape, incest, fetal abnormalities, and the life of the mother. State Rep Mike Beltran, one of the ban's sponsors, says the days of what he calls abortion tourism from other states are over.
Abortion is not health care. There are many countries in the world where abortion is illegal or even more restricted than it would be under the Florida rules.
It's part of a nationwide debate over the issue going into the 2024 campaign. In an interview with Time magazine, former President Trump was asked his thoughts on states monitoring pregnancies to detect if women had an abortion. I think they might do that, the GOP candidate responded. You'll have to speak to the individual states. His 2024 rival, President Biden, responding overnight.
There seems to be no limit to how invasive Trump would let the state be. This should be a decision between a woman and her doctor, and the government should get out of people's lives.
Now, Savannah, this could all change come November. Amendment 4 will be on the ballot, and that would protect abortion rights until roughly 24 weeks, replacing the now current 6-week ban. So, Savannah, it's the Florida voters who will have the final say.
All right, Marissa Parra, thank you so much.
This morning, millions of people around the South and Midwest are bracing for the next round of powerful storms hammering America's heartland. More hail, heavy rain, and flood warnings are expected after more than 100 tornadoes tore through the region over the weekend. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is just outside Omaha, Nebraska with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, believe it or not, yesterday marked 6 straight days of reported tornadoes across the Great Plains and South. And people in places like Elkhorn, Nebraska, I mean, just look at this. They're just trying to catch their breath. They were out here yesterday sifting through all this rubble, all this damage caused by weekend tornadoes, working as fast as they can, knowing that another system was on its way.
This morning, America's heartland hit again.
Big debris! Almost got hit by sheet metal.
This violent twister ripping through Westmoreland, Kansas, tearing apart nearly 24 homes, causing extensive damage.
It was crazy. It was loud. Everyone was freaking out. Everyone got downstairs, everything. It was crazy.
The same system hammering Kansas and Oklahoma with golf ball-sized hail. Authorities confirm one person was killed yesterday. It's just the latest severe system in a violent week, with more than 170 reported tornadoes slamming the region over the last 6 days. Authorities confirming 6 deaths across multiple states, including a 4-month-old baby in Oklahoma. A friend says the child's family was inside their home when a twister picked it up and tossed it roughly 200 yards. The family telling NBC News, "We are heartbroken." In Elkhorn, Nebraska, entire neighborhoods are gone after 5 EF3 tornadoes hit the area over the weekend. Raven Foyt sifting through what's left of her father's home after he rode out the weekend storms in the basement with her brother.
The house is gone, pretty much. Like it's destroyed. All of our family history is here.
The family scrambling to save what they can fast.
Is it exhausting to think that more severe weather might come through?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This has been a lot of work mentally. This has just been crazy to deal with.
And the last thing people here want to hear, by the way, another severe system, Joe, potentially packing more tornadoes, more severe winds, more hail, you name it, could be on its way today. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Maggie, thank you.
Now let's get to meteorologist Angie Lassman for more on these severe storms.
Hey, Angie, what can we expect today?
Hey, good morning, guys. More of the same. Just as Maggie mentioned, we do have that potential across much of the plains to see some of those strong, severe storms developing, especially as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. We've already got flood watches up for 5 million people, as we do expect, on top of the strong storms, some heavy rain associated with those as well. We've already had quite an active morning across parts of the southern plains, Oklahoma, Texas, seeing some of those active active thunderstorms this morning, but that's not what we're worried about. We're more so worried about what develops here as the afternoon goes on. We'll also be watching for the heavy rain. That's mainly across parts of Texas. I'll show you more in depth of the rain that we're expecting here in a moment. But let's focus on that severe risk through the day today. Specifically, all of those hazards, the same as we've been dealing with the past couple of days, are on the table. So the winds, the hail, and the tornadoes. But we're most concerned about that large hail. And this is large, in fact. We're talking 3 inches. So when we compare that to something teacup size, of course, dangerous conditions for folks across this region. You can see the enhanced risk centered across Abilene, stretching up into Kansas. Oklahoma City is under that slight risk. But even as far south as San Antonio, as far north as Omaha, included in these folks that are going to see that potential as the day goes on. If we look ahead to tonight, we end up dealing with more of the shower and thunderstorm activity here across this region. We'll likely see this kind of repeat performance as we get into tomorrow with another round of showers and thunderstorms for your day as that front moves to the east. Now, the risk area is a little bit smaller, and it's not quite as intense as we're expecting today, but it does still include all of those same threats. The hail will be the most likely, but the damaging winds and even an isolated tornado possible as we head into your day tomorrow. The flash flood concern will be there. Also, I mentioned that we'll see heavy rain, and we really will. The hourly rainfall rates could be upwards of 3 inches. That specifically, the area that we're watching is, for the most concern, is going to be Austin to Lufkin. That's where we'll see the greatest chance of some of the flooding concerns. We right now have a moderate risk for folks there, so something to watch if you're going to be out and about over the next couple of days. Likely seeing the localized flooding along streets, ponds, rivers, all those kind of things as we gear up for multiple days of some heavy rain. As we get through the rain today, tomorrow more on the table, and we've already got those saturated grounds in that area, so you can see from Louisiana to Texas, that's where we're going to watch for the potential for upwards of 3 inches in some spots. We'll see isolated amounts upwards of 5 inches as well. And this stretches all the way into, parts of the northern plains, too. We'll see plenty of rain, of course, for the southern plains, and that's where we're expecting the highest amounts, but even still something to note elsewhere and farther north. Meanwhile, as we look ahead to Friday, the east will see nice warm conditions. We'll see mostly sunny skies. You can see where that front is across the region there. The southwest will be dealing with some sunshine as well. And yep, there's a little bit of mountain snow in the forecast for folks across the west. We'll keep it sunny and hot for the southwest as we head into Saturday. Those scattered storms are going to be there and wet conditions for parts of the east as well. We'll end up dealing with some unsettled conditions as we round out our weekend, guys, on Sunday. But the milder highs, luckily, parts of the northern plains will see some quiet conditions. The Midwest will see a little sunshine. But that storm threat, it's not going away anytime soon across parts of the plains, and we'll likely see that heading into tomorrow, or into the upcoming work week as well.
The Midwest will get a little break there.
A little break, a little sunshine, mild conditions, feeling like spring there.
There you go. Angie, thank you so much. No much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including a surprise new proposal from the Biden administration to reclassify marijuana. But what exactly does that mean, and how might it affect future research on the drug?
After the break, though, it is college decision day for many students across the country, but that excitement might soon turn to frustration for some applying for federal aid. More on the FAFSA glitches that are not making the grade. Next.
Welcome back. It is May 1st, which means today is supposed to be the day that high school seniors declare where they are headed to college. I also did not realize that it's May 1st until we were getting to this point in the show. There you go.
We'll have a little Justin Timberlake for you later in the hour, by the way. All right, this year is looking a little different, though, for a lot of teens. It's because the federal government is still trying to work through glitches with federal student aid.
NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us on set with more on what we got to know here. Brian, good morning. So, I mean, this really has been such a mess. It completely overshadowed, obviously, the opportunity for students to even really be declaring. And in many cases, it's very serious. Students haven't been able to make that decision yet without knowing this. Tell us how it impacted college decision day, that FAFSA rollout was such a mess.
Yeah, well, usually this is the time of year that you see those Justin Timberlake, it's going to be May memes. And then you also see people putting on their ball caps, right, to show off what school they want to go to. But that is being delayed because of issues with FAFSA. This is the student aid platform where you find out how much you're getting in grants or loans from the from the government, which allows you to kind of do the math in terms terms of what's going to be affordable, in terms of your options for where you want to go to school. The issue is that FAFSA made changes to their forms this year. It was in earnest. They were trying to shorten the amount of questions that they have this year, but it kind of started this chain reaction of issues where there were glitches that affected millions of applications and delayed them in many cases. And for that reason, you have a number of schools that say, well, our students, our prospective students, don't even know how much it'll cost them to attend our school. So we're going to push back that timeline from May 1st, which is usually when they kind of submit their decisions, to May 15th, to, in some cases, as late as June. This is a really big deal for a lot of students that are trying to get a little bit more certainty into where they're going to go to college later on.
I can't even imagine, because this is stressful enough as it is already to have to be going through this. Yeah. What are some of the ways that students are coping with all this?
Yeah, well, I mean, our producers, Sarah Ruberg and Haley Messenger, have been reaching out to students, and they've been hearing anecdotes of things like having to draw out from your 401k, having to, in some cases, put off decisions to buy a car or even buy a home in some cases. So these are very serious things. But again, there's kind of, in the absence of anything else, not much that you can do, right? Because the FAFSA student loan is supposed to be the way that you're able to kind of hedge the cost that the schools themselves are invoicing you for tuition. If you don't know how much that's going to cost, well, then you don't know how much it's going to cost you in totality. So you're going to hold off on that decision. That's the reason why people are making big-time life decision changes based off of the delays that are related to FAFSA.
What is the Department of Education saying at this point? Do schools have what they need? Can this move forward yet?
Well, the Department of Education said as of yesterday that they've received over 8.4 million FAFSA submissions. They say that they processed about 8.3 million. So that seems to be good. They say they're also working with high school superintendents to make sure that they can try to prepare students as well as they can, even despite these delays, to get into a financial place where they have a little bit more certainty. But again, some of these schools, they've already been pushing things back another month or so. That's another month of just heartburn in terms of trying to figure out and do the math for what's going to be affordable in terms of their options once they enroll in the fall.
Absolutely. It's really tough. Brian Chung, thank you so much.
International headlines now, starting with the latest on the war in Ukraine, where Russia is intensifying its attacks on a key city.
NBC's Matt Bodner has the latest on that and some other international news for us. Matt, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Let's kick things off this hour in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. This is in the country's northeast region. It borders Russia, and it's been one of the hardest hit cities in the war, though it is one that Russia has struggled to capture and hold. In light of that, the Russian military has stepped up overt bombing of civilian infrastructure in the city. The International Red Cross on Tuesday warned of deteriorating conditions for civilians who have not fled. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that recently approved U.S. weapons deliveries must be expedited as Ukrainian forces continue to lose ground to Russian attacks in several vulnerable areas. Moving along now to right over here in the UK, where the government says it has completed its first deportation of a rejected Rwandan asylum seeker. This is being described as a voluntary removal program in which a denied applicant is offered 3,000 British pounds to go back to Rwanda. It is not to be confused with a forced deportation plan that we covered here last week. That is one in which the UK government will not give failed applicants the choice. Both schemes, according to supporters of these programs, are meant to deter dangerous and also illegal crossings into the UK over the English Channel. And we'll wrap up this hour in Japan, where a small town known for being the perfect location to take stunning shots of Mount Fuji is saying it's had enough. The town yesterday began to build a large black screen along a stretch of sidewalk to block what is an iconic view of the mountain. Local residents say it's necessary because foreign tourists have been misbehaving. They litter, they cross the road without concern for traffic lights, and they also trespass onto private property. That's according to some of the locals. Japan is experiencing a wave of foreign tourism right now. Some are attributing it to post-COVID curiosity. The nation closed itself off to foreign visitors for 2 years during the pandemic. Back to you guys.
All right. Mount Fuji's like, get off my lawn.
Yeah, what a tactic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't come here, you can't see it. Okay.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Coming up, a budding proposal from the White House this morning.
After the break, the Biden administration's new call to reclassify marijuana, what it means for consumers, future research, and your health. Stay with us. This is Morning News Now.
We're back now with that historic step towards easing restrictions on marijuana. The Biden administration has laid out plans for reclassifying the drug for the first time in 50 years. That is according to 4 sources with knowledge of the decision.
The DEA is expected to approve the plans, which would bring marijuana from the strictest Schedule I class to a Schedule III. That means we could see significant changes to how it's studied and how it's sold.
NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello joins us with more on what comes next. Tom, good morning. So first, can you describe what rescheduling a drug means? Why it's such a big move, what that process is like?
Yeah, it is a major decision. It would reclassify marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug, which it is now, down to a Schedule 3 drug. And that will mean easing some of the restrictions we're seeing now on marijuana, allowing more research into its identity and its potential medical benefits. Schedule 1 drugs include heroin, ecstasy, LSD. They are highly restricted, viewed as having high potential for abuse. Currently, no accepted medical use. But now marijuana will potentially fall into the same Schedule 3 category as drugs like Tylenol, codeine, anabolic steroids, and testosterone that have moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence. Marijuana supporters have been pushing for this change for years. A poll in November found 70% of Americans believe marijuana should be legal, and that should be or could be a boost for President Biden in a critical election year. The proposal, though, to cut pot from level 1 to level 3 still needs to be reviewed by the White House Office of Management and Budget. Final approval, guys, could be months away.
So, Tom, we know marijuana already legal in many states for either recreational or medical purposes, but they've faced all sort of hurdles from the federal government over the years. So how could this move impact that industry?
And you're right. You know, I'm from Colorado, so I know this well. It essentially opens the door for pharmaceutical companies to lawfully sell and distribute medical marijuana where it's legal. 38 states plus D.C. have approved the use of cannabis for medical reasons. 24 have done so as well for recreational use. For the states that have not approved the use of cannabis for medical or recreational purposes, reclassifying this drug will not automatically affect state and local laws because it is still under federal law. So if you're in a state that doesn't allow medical marijuana use or recreational use at all, yeah, you're probably still out of luck because you're covered under the federal law as well.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you so much.
Let's continue this conversation with NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel for more on what this could mean actually for our health. Dr. Patel, good to see you. So for the average American, what are the health and safety risks that could come from this move?
Yeah, so moving this to a controlled substance, which makes it easier to prescribe and to do the research on where we should be using this medically, it is a little bit more of a goal for patients to get this in particular cases. We already know that marijuana from a medical perspective can be helpful for things like pain, some mental health symptoms, and some conditions like glaucoma and potentially with cancer treatment. So these are all good uses, and this makes it easier to actually prescribe it in those cases.
A major thing here, right, Dr. Patel, is research. What could this mean for the research of this drug?
Yeah, it's been really restricted. When it was a class 1 drug, it was essentially listed in categories, as you heard Tom mention, that have zero medical use. Moving this to something that has medicinal purposes opens up potentially federal research, opens up places to do that research. If I wanted to do this kind of research at a major academic center, it would be complex and difficult. This makes it easier to do. It also opens up the possibility of doing trials in populations where we've wondered, could this drug, people have talked about it being a gateway to other drugs, all the things that we've been discussing even on the show, we will have better research to inform in special populations and for the general public.
And as of late, some of the research we have talked about on this show has shined a light on some concerns. I mean, what are the main concerns from those researchers and doctors who are opposed to making cannabis more widely available?
Yeah, look, I fall a little bit into this category because I worry not from the medical prescription perspective, but I think, as you heard Tom say, this is a $30 billion industry. Where, no matter what state you're in, you really can't avoid the fact that marijuana has become a business, and CBD and other kind of associated products. So what we're seeing in emergency rooms and clinics is overuse. This can have mental health effects. This can affect you in ways that we still don't understand. That's part of the rub in trying to get some of this research done so that we can demonstrate that if you use it without lawful supervision, without a prescriber or a provider watching over you to make sure you're using it in the right context, Joe and Savannah, you could really be, unfortunately, kind of lighting like a fire keg and having a problem with the rest of your life. And I think that's what we're worried about. Recreational marijuana use that ends up becoming something of a permanent health risk is exactly what we're seeing unfold with some of the legalization. However, I think, again, as Tom mentioned, this is going to be a process. I think that putting this in the controlled substance category is the first best move to opening up a lot of the answers we have that we don't, for questions that we have no answers to today.
Dr. Patel, I wonder what complications has this created for the medical community, for doctors that, as of right now, you know, this is classified the same way that heroin is, as we've been mentioning, but that in many places across the country, our viewers could walk outside and buy it like they could buy a bottle of wine.
Right. And I think the issue that comes up for a lot of us is strength. What is it that you're actually buying? We talked about how sometimes the product, even as they're labeled in stores and retail places, aren't necessarily kind of transparent enough so that even young adults, teens, children, in fact, are getting exposure because they're in the form of candy or gummies and not necessarily understanding, you know, what CBD is, some of the safer products, separating that from what we talked about, which is THC, which is that more active, psychoactive substance than marijuana. So I think that what's confusing for all of us as prescribers is, one, we're not doing a good job screening for it. I ask a lot of patients about smoking, but most people assume it's cigarettes, and then we're not asking about ingesting products. And I think that just talking today about changing this from that class of heroin, ecstasy, LSD, I'm actually hoping that it will offer medical prescribers a framework for talking about this at every visit, because we know it's out there. Joe and Savannah, you just have to walk outside the streets of New York and see any major urban area, and you're exposed to it. But we're not asking about it in clinic settings. I actually think the move that they're suggesting will help us normalize asking about this, but it will also probably open up that this is not something that everyone should be using. So it'll put some guardrails around it, too. Hopefully that's what's going to come out of this.
All right, some excellent points, Dr. Kavita Patel. Always good to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, today is World Maternal Mental Health Day. It's a day meant to raise awareness about mental health concerns for mothers and how life changes around pregnancy can make women more vulnerable to mental illness. It's a health concern that we're seeing worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, almost 20% of new or expecting mothers suffer from a mental health condition during or after pregnancy. Dr. Jessica Shepard joins us now. She is a board-certified OBGYN. Dr. Shepard, thanks very much for joining us. I am so happy we are having this conversation. It's such an important topic. First, just tell us about this day, World Maternal Mental Health Day, and what having a day dedicated to focusing on something like this you hope is accomplished here.
Yeah, not only in addition to today, but the entire year, because what we're seeing with the numbers that you just showed, 1 in 5 women during the perinatal phase, which is during pregnancy, or in the postpartum phase, are really struggling. And this comes again with a variety of different things that we can see, but depression usually is going to be that #1 mental health condition that women are suffering from. So clearly there's an issue with how we're addressing it, what's available. Also, the screening that we do during pregnancy needs to be heightened.
Why does pregnancy make women more vulnerable to mental illness? Is it the hormones, you know, that we hear so much about? What is it that's going on? And what symptoms can we be trying to check for in ourselves? But also, super importantly, can partners, can friends, can family be keeping an eye out for?
Well, one thing that we do know is going to increase someone's risk of having any depression during the pregnancy and or after is if they have a previous history of depression and or anxiety. And so those are key things to look out for, and making sure that that's addressed appropriately throughout the pregnancy. But there are a lot of factors that go into why women have more depression or seem to have mental health disorders that appear during pregnancy and after. And that can come from a host of reasons, whether it is, again, with hormones, with living conditions, with a lot of stress that goes into being pregnant, but also the support after, where there's so much that goes into taking care of a newborn and bonding with that newborn, that I think we need to really push the conversation in. This may occur. We're seeing this in 1 in 5 women. How can we make sure that it's being addressed, asking the appropriate questions, and also making sure that we take the stigma away from mental health?
I think stigma is so important, Doctor. I just, you know, and maybe a lot of women have this same fact could be true for them. I have multiple friends who suffered from postpartum anxiety, multiple friends who suffered from postpartum depression, and also a friend who suffered from postpartum psychosis. 3 things that as a woman who has never had kids, I don't hear that much about. I don't understand that much about until I'm actually asking women who have experienced this. And when I learn about it, I mean, it's kind of wild to me that we don't know very much. And then I think that also means partners probably don't know very much and don't know what they could be dealing with, don't know what to be looking out for. How important is just talking about it? And how can we encourage women to do so that they don't feel like they have to downplay what they're going through?
Well, I think it comes in different forms, just as you mentioned in your small circle, how you've seen so many of these instances within people that you know. So I think the screening really comes with taking the stigma away, but also giving the safe space for women to be able to discuss the feelings and emotions that they're going through, which again might be new for them to have to discuss. And then from a support person perspective is understanding that being able to have the discussion is the most important step and usually the most crucial, because this is what's going to open the door to getting further care, making sure that maybe if there's medication that's needed during that time and in the postpartum phase. But I also really think that in the postpartum phase, we need to be addressing this so crucially more than we are now, because that's really where we're seeing that now we have to not only take care of one, we really have to take care of mom so that she can take care of baby.
Dr. Jessica Shepard, really important conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this.
Thank you.
Coming up, are we seeing a diner dash?
After the break, fast food fans are fired up over all those greasy price hikes in the drive-thru line. And now some big names are taking notice. We'll explain after this. Welcome back. We've got some Monday news for you. Pfizer is going digital with a new online clinic that's reportedly in the works.
CNBC's Silvana Henao is the latest on that and some other dollar sign headlines. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Savannah. Good morning to you. Yeah, so Pfizer is developing an online platform for patients to order medicine, including the COVID treatment Paxlovid and a migraine nasal spray. Now, it's the latest push by drug makers to cut out the middleman and sell directly to consumers. The Financial Times reports Pfizer's site is expected to launch later this year, and it will connect customers with telehealth consultants to prescribe medications, while a drug dispensing partner will fill and ship prescriptions. Meanwhile, pot stocks rocketing higher yesterday, with some up nearly 80%. And that's on news the Biden administration may reclassify marijuana as a Class 3 substance, a list that includes drugs such as Tylenol with codeine and anabolic steroids. Pot has been a Schedule I drug for more than 50 years, along with heroin and meth. Now, the move won't make marijuana legal at the federal level, but it would eliminate some taxes on cannabis companies. And shares of Starbucks are under pressure as the coffee giant reported disappointing sales in its latest quarter and a big slowdown in customer traffic. Starbucks CEO is pledging a turnaround. Now, that includes speeding up service in the morning to better meet demand. He says too many customers are dropping their app orders because of long wait times. Starbucks also plans to roll out new menu items, including an energy drink, and that's to coax people back, especially in the afternoons, guys. I'm curious to see how much more they can speed things up.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
So I can't be coaxed in the afternoon, then I'm up all night.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
So
same.
I'm not going to fall for that. Silvana, thank you so much.
Fast food giants are rethinking their meal plans.
Yeah, months of rising menu prices have left price-conscious diners changing where they eat, if they even go out at all anymore. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here on set to tell us more about how diners are kind of fed up with this. Good morning.
Lots of good puns in this story, but really this is the power of the purse, you guys. There are picky eaters in the drive-through lane. McDonald's in a call to shareholders yesterday saying it is focused on value now. Meanwhile, tired of rising prices at restaurants and the grocery store, Americans are increasingly choosing to eat home or seek out the best value fast food.
Fast foodies are fed up, taking to social media to rant about what they see as non-value meals.
$17 for 3 Filet-O-Fishes at McDonald's? Are you kidding me?
After 2 years of menu price hikes, big companies finally feeling the pushback from diners. McDonald's profits falling short of expectations, a rare stumble for the Golden Arches. The CEO on Tuesday noting today's consumer is being picky about how they spend their money, and the company needs to be laser focused on affordability.
Has the consumer finally spoken and now they have to focus on value?
The consumer
is frustrated by the prices they are paying at fast food restaurants, and they are absolutely voting with their feet.
Opting, he says, for Domino's or Burger King, which both exceeded expectations, or cooking at home, where food inflation is cooling. Inflation measuring food at home rose just 1.2% in March versus a year ago, compared to 4.2% for food away from home, which includes fast food. Those customers are increasingly revolting at repeated price increases. Mother of 5, Latifah Henry, says if prices get any higher, she'll skip the drive-through.
We're looking at like $10, $11, $12 sometimes just for one meal. So that is kind of something where we're like, okay, do we really want to eat out at McDonald's for those prices, or can we find somewhere that's, you know, a little higher quality that is pretty much a similar price?
And it's not just the burgers. Drinks have gone up too. Prices for Coca-Cola up 7% in North America. And 2 months ago, Wendy's CEO fired up controversy when he told investors the hamburger chain would test dynamic pricing starting next year, changing prices at different times of the day. In California, Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, Pizza Hut, and Jack in the Box warned customers of higher prices ahead because of a new $20 minimum wage for their workers. As for McDonald's, in an effort to calm customer concerns, it plans to test out a higher quality and bigger burger later this year.
Now, consumers have a lot of choices. Our restaurant expert there said convenience stores are now offering more hot food items, enticing that fast food weary customer. But these prices have been going up, and people are now really, really fed up.
What about fast casual kind of dining restaurants, that type of thing? You say people are going home more, but what about that?
Well, so they've been raising prices too. And Darden, that is the owner of Olive Garden, they noticed that people who make $75,000 or less, they were eating out less too. So people have noticed the higher prices. They're changing their behavior. The food prices at restaurants is rising and has been rising faster than overall inflation. Grocery prices, in fact, some grocery prices have even been falling. So that's super interesting. It's actually cheaper to be, making dinner at home. And for people who are price sensitive after 2 years, they're actually acting on it.
Kind of this flip from a year ago when we were talking about the grocery stores were driving everyone nuts, and now it's the other way around.
We are still inflation weary. We really are. And it's interesting, too, because paychecks are now rising faster than inflation, but we are primed, American consumers are primed to hate the higher prices more than they love the higher paycheck.
That is actually very interesting. So is the fact that now I'm definitely going to have a burger today. Thank you very much for that, Christine.
You're welcome.
Well, new studies suggest that younger Americans are traveling more than previous generations did at their age.
Yeah, a new report by the travel platform Hopper finds 60% of Gen Z and millennials have purchased travel in the last year. And here's the thing, they're prioritizing that over things like buying a home or having kids.
That's pretty amazing. Haley Berg is the lead economist at the Hopper and joins us now to talk more about these travel habits. Good morning, Haley. So what are some of the main things younger adults look at when booking trips, and what kind of places are they likely to visit?
These younger adults love to spend on travel, even as they're feeling some of that inflation and other parts of their budget. They're continuing to spend on these bucket list vacations. But what those vacations look like are shifting. Gen Z in particular, they're fatigued by these hyper-curated social media experiences. They want something authentic. They're more likely to take vacations to destinations off the beaten path, like Porto, Portugal, Malaga, Spain, even Ketchikan, Alaska. So we're seeing really diverse destinations from this group of travelers who want something unique, and they want to feel like they're having an individual experience.
Obviously, social media plays a part in this travel trend. It's not just research on where to go, but like details, things like hotel amenities, right?
It's fascinating. Consumers now, when they want more information about a hotel, they want to know where to go out to eat. They're not going to just a search. They're looking at TikTok. They're looking at Instagram. They want to see a real customer's experience at the hotel, unedited photos and videos. And that's how they're making decisions about where they stay, what experiences they choose to spend on.
Haley, what's even more interesting is that many younger travelers aren't putting these trips on traditional credit cards. We understand that there are these other ways that they're paying for it. How are they doing that?
We typically think of financial growth in young adults as going from a debit card to a credit card. With this younger generation, they are using diverse payment options: Google Pay, PayPal, Apple Pay, even buy now, pay later. About 30% of travel purchases made by Gen Zers are made without credit or debit cards. And this is really key. A lot of these options are helping them spread payments over time, expand their travel budgets, or are just easier to use because they're making these purchases on smartphones. They're not on a desktop or laptop.
Also sounds like a way to lead yourself down a slippery slope, right, when it comes
to... And you're not earning points and miles.
Yeah, that's very true, too. All right, Haley Berg, thank you very much. Interesting stuff. Coming up, it's a whole different kind of wedding planner.
Yeah, after the break, how one happy couple actually used AI to get them down the aisle while saving some big bucks in the process. That's next on Morning News Now. Welcome back and happy 1st of May, especially to Justin Timberlake, who's poking fun at a viral meme of himself. You've probably seen it by now. The meme parodies the 2000 NSYNC hit It's Gonna Be Me. Timberlake famously offered a distinctive pronunciation, singing It's Gonna Be Me.
Thank God he didn't.
Well, yesterday, the Grammy Award singer took to social media to joke about his mispronunciation, saying it continues to haunt him to this day, but brings joy to the rest of us.
One more time.
It's gonna be me.
I didn't know if you'd agree to that or not. That was great.
Finally, this summer wedding season is just around the corner. Some couples are turning to a new way to plan the big day.
NBC News correspondent Elwin Lopez is going to introduce us to a woman who saved more than $5,000 in wedding planning services by using an AI chatbot.
DIY weddings are all the rage, but now some couples are diving into AI for their big day.
I'm having it be like airy, almost like a flowy summer.
Maria Cortese and her fiance planning a beautiful Riverview ceremony in Poughkeepsie, New York. Hundreds of guests ready to celebrate the couple in August on a day that's come together thanks to ChatGPT.
I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a gander at this and I'm going to type in something for a wedding.
The program listing out detailed options for bridal bouquets, centerpieces, decorations, and so much more, eliminating the need and cost for a wedding planner.
Google's so generalized, right? When you're typing into ChatGPT, it's very specific as to what you're asking.
So we gave it a shot.
Tell me, what is the best spot to get married in the United States?
The best spot to get married in the United States depends on personal preferences. But destinations like Hawaii, Napa Valley, and New York City are popular choices for their stunning scenery, romantic ambiance, and variety of venues.
What's the most hated song for weddings?
One song that is often disliked or considered overplayed at weddings is YMCA by Village People. While it's a catchy tune, some guests may find it cheesy or repetitive, leading to it being labeled as one of the most hated wedding songs by some.
Okay, good to know. We're not going to play that.
And those save the dates, they came from AI too. Everything from the wording to the formatting. It even helps out with haggling prices with those vendors.
I ended up finding a photographer that did engagements, then bridal shower and photography for almost half of the price of what it would have just costed me to get a photographer to do the wedding on its own.
Maria says they're saving $5,000 to $10,000 by skipping out on a traditional planning service. According to bridal planning site Zola, in 2024, the average cost for a wedding is more than $30,000.
Who are you?
I'm the wedding planner. Even traditional wedding planners have started incorporating AI into their businesses.
I've actually used it to explain a few things, to be honest with you, to clients that don't understand necessarily what attrition is when you're working with a hotel room block. And it is a weird thing. So I used AI and to help me explain it to people.
Katie Martin has been in the wedding business for decades. She still feels that there's no replacement for the real deal, especially on the big day.
It's the manpower, setting up the tables, making sure the table numbers are right, making sure the chair counts are right. And honestly, we're peace of mind a lot of times where we know the person so well by the time they get to their wedding that if I see them nervous about anything, I can fix it.
Even still, AI-planned weddings are taking off. More than half of couples who are engaged are now eyeing tools like ChatGPT to help them tie the knot. To dampen a bit of that wedding planning stress, a little help from AI could help them get to the altar and ultimately to those I do's.
So it really does everything except walk you down the aisle.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that'll be the next step. Your AI chatbot bringing you down the aisle.
They are working on AI, robot, human things.
Our things dealt with
pretty
Lopez.
cool.
Maybe it could be the officiant. You have a chat.
Well, if you were officiating, I actually do know somebody who did that, who used ChatGPT to, they gave some details about the couple, because that's how it works. You're like, she likes this, he likes that, they meant this way, write me something, and then it will.
But then it actually prop it up like in front of the church. Do you?
Yeah. Suddenly a hologram is officiating.
All right, that's going to do it for this hour of morning news now.
Stay with us, the news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.